Hello and welcome to All For United WFC.
Good afternoon and welcome to All For United WFC with me, Anthony Wilson. We finally reached the last round of fixtures in this enthralling WSL season. Some things have been decided already, mainly the relegation. Other things such as the title and Champions League are yet to be decided. But before we get into all that and last week's results, how are you today, John?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Had this week off work, so been out and about a little bit, seeing a few people that I don't see that often. Spending a couple of days at my dad's caravan as well, which is good. So it's been a fairly relaxing few days so far. Obviously got some matches to look forward to over the weekends. Still recovering from the previous weekend. So yeah, it's not been too bad, thank you. How's yours been?
So it could have been better, but I'll get in there. But I won't go into it too much. It's just it is what it is. But I'll be all right. Busy at work.
Yeah.
But we will start with last week's results then. City beat Brighton 7-2. Man United beat West Ham 3-0, which is good, keeps our European hopes alive. Leicester, Reading was a 0-0 draw. Arsenal beat Aston Villa 7-0. Chelsea, maybe a bit surprisingly, only won by the one goal 1-0 with a Pernilla Harder penalty. Everton Spurs was a 2-2 draw with an interesting last 7 minutes. And then you had two rearranged games. Arsenal winning the North London derby 3-0. And unfortunately for us United fans, City won their game in hand 6-0, leaving them in pole position for Europe. But as we saw last night with City men, anything can happen in football, so we can't rule it out. So before we go into this week's fixtures and that, any surprise results there for you? Were you surprised that Chelsea only won by the one goal?
Yeah, Birmingham, whenever they needed to just like hang in there, they've kind of done that when it comes to some of the results that they have pulled out with like the draw or a win against Arsenal. So it's Birmingham potentially should have gone down a lot sooner, but they've kept us scraping away until they've come up against Chelsea, top of the league, managed to hold them off just to one goal, like you said, it was a penalty. And Birmingham can turn up, can't they? They just don't turn up that often or for long periods of the game, and it's a shame for them. But I suppose we'll get into that game. But massive shame for them. But I think I've always said throughout this season the league doesn't lie, especially after 21 games. You're not bottom of the table for no reason. So Leicester have obviously had a better second half of the season, probably picking up about 13 points in that second half of the season. And Birmingham obviously haven't done that. So Birmingham do deserve to go down. I've been rooting for all the Midland teams outside of obviously Man United this season, wanting them all to stay up. But unfortunately for Birmingham, it's come to an end. So, yeah, surprised that Chelsea only managed to put one past them, especially considering, Chelsea obviously going for that title. Goal difference could be important. They've got the harder last game of the season with Arsenal, obviously not playing United or City, so that's going to be a tough game for Chelsea. So you would have thought that Chelsea would have tried to put as many goals as they could past Birmingham, so to only achieve one is quite surprising. That's one. And even when you say Man City, yes, scoring 7 sometimes isn't that surprising. Not 9 goals in one game. That's quite surprising. Brighton managed to get two as well. So there's a few that you can go through. I think the biggest not surprise really was United winning 3-0. I think that was pretty much about right, as expected. We never took it for granted that we was going to win West Ham. But 3-0, I would have thought at home, our last home game, I would have thought that would be about right.
Yeah, we none of us predicted that scoreline correct, but it was a good professional performance in front of the home fans, which gives us hope to qualify for Europe in third. Like you said, Birmingham, 1-0 was a bit of a surprise, but then you look at City Birmingham the night before. Until Birmingham conceded, they were very much in it. But once City scored, the floodgates opened. Regarding goal difference, with this weekend's fixtures just gone, Arsenal now have a +4 better goal difference. So even if Arsenal were to draw against West Ham, who they're playing this week, and Chelsea lost, the title would go to Boreham Wood.
Mm-hmm.
But something's got to happen. That's not happened so far in United's short WSL stint, and that's pick something up against Chelsea at Kingsmeadow, and we did get that one draw beginning of the start of COVID season, but we haven't won. But we'll discuss that more as we go through this weekend's fixtures. Leicester Reading 0-0 was a bit of a. Obviously, Leicester didn't know at the time, but it was a vital point. Reading are just hovering the position. We know Arsenal are battling to win the league. Everton, Spurs will want that 5th place. So they're not guaranteed it yet. West Ham, be it they're playing Arsenal, could pick them to it still. But in terms of, it looks like Spurs will hold on to that, and I think they'll be very happy about a 5th place. Their only little thing they might have doubt about is the gap between the top 4 and them, because it's about 13, 14 points.
Yeah.
But all in all, there wasn't really any surprise results, just maybe score lines, I would say. With predictions and that, there wasn't any correct scores, but you and Connor did manage to pip it by 2 points, 12-10. So that reduces the score by 2 to 210, 187 after 21 rounds. But that's last weekend's results. So we will now move on to this weekend's final round of fixtures. They all have a 12 p.m. kickoff on Sunday, with Chelsea v Man United being selected for Sky Sports. Now, assuming as we are a United podcast mainly, we will start with the big game, Chelsea v Man United. As I said, United have to beat Chelsea, which is something they have never done before. But do you think the time's come that we can ruin Chelsea's party? Are you going to be like Barry and be optimistic, or are you going to be like me and a negative realistic?
I've said pretty much since this time onwards that I'm really glad that this is the last game of the season, because it is going to be like a cup final. And I think that will only help us, because I think if this was mid-season or the start of the season or any other time, I think you just think of it as a normal WSL game. However, because it's the last game of the season and we know what we need to do, I think that will help us. Now, I know it's not going to be that easy at all. So I'm not ruling out that we can get a result at Chelsea, but it does worry me a little bit that City can do what they need to do their end, and that's obviously the disadvantage of going in to the final game, lower than City. It also makes me think about how we're going to approach this game. So a win in itself would be a massive achievement. So a win and thinking about goal average as well, in my head, shouldn't even matter. If we can just get that win, we've done our bit, and then we just have to blame results early on in the season to the reason why we didn't get top 3. So if we have to play a very cagey game and keep it 0-0, 1-1 for as long as we possibly can, or even go 1-0 down, I don't think we should be throwing everything at them right away. I think because we've seen what happens to us against the big teams, we do get cut apart. So for me, I've got no problem if I'm not going to say sit back, but if we keep it tight and just be very structured at the back and wait for our chances. I know a lot of fans also say, look, just go out there. If you're gonna like die on your sword, all that kind of stuff. And I completely get that, but there's a time and a place, in my opinion, to do that. And I think against the best team in England away from home, who are going for the title, I think if we try and go toe to toe, that could be a bit naive of us. So I've got no problem for the first half an hour just keeping it tight, and then just kind of seeing where the game goes from there. How about yourself? How would you approach the game if you were Skinner, Anthony?
Yeah, normally I do like to attack, but I would fully agree with you. I feel you just have to look at the game at LSV, how they teared us apart at certain times. Some through our own doing, but if we try and attack them, they'll hurt you on the break. So as well as getting, like you said, if we can stay in the game, keep it tight, hit them on the counter attack, get that one goal, and then keep tight at the back, make it hard for them to score, because we've seen with them playing Birmingham and Leicester this season, they can find it tough to break down. And Leicester and Birmingham probably are the two more of the defensive sort of sides against the likes of Chelsea. So United have got a little bit more quality than Birmingham and Leicester, no disrespect to them. And if they're all they have to all be on their game. We can't afford any slip-ups. It has to be like their game of the season. It's just annoying a bit, like you said, the 6 draws, and you look at 3 of them, especially Everton, stupid goal that potentially got kicked out of Mary's hand. The stupid goal against Tottenham that just flew into her corner. The West Ham one, just not being able to kill out one. That's 6 points. If we had them 6 points, we're going to Europe now, because we've got a 4-point gap over them, if my maths serves me correct. Yeah, and then we're not talking about can we qualify, because it would be brilliant if we won and stop Chelsea winning the WSL, but we've got to rely on Reading to beat City as well.
Yeah,
but football is a funny game. We've got to remain optimistic, I suppose, even though my prediction won't reflect it, as it's a prediction show. But it's not over till it's over, is it? We've seen stranger things happen. But on that note, I will ask for a prediction.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a 1-1. I go for a 1-1 on this one, which is a bit of a shame. And don't get me wrong, like I say, I do think we can quite easily snatch some sort of light winner, but so can Chelsea. So I'm just thinking, well, let's go for a 1-1. And that might actually spoil Chelsea's party, hasn't it, looking at this? So
Yes, if Arsenal
if Arsenal win,
just beat West Ham, then that would spoil their party.
yeah. So I'm going to go for 1-1. If it was middle of the season, I might have said something different. I might have thought something different at least. But I think we'll have enough passion, and I think we'll have something going for us. Fingers crossed, anyway.
Okay, I was going to go for a slightly bigger score.
Yeah.
I've just changed it because
Okay.
but it's still Chelsea to win.
Yeah.
I was going to go 3-1.
Yeah.
But I've decided to go for 2-1.
Yeah.
I just think it's just hard. We need to do something we've never done at Kingsmeadow. Yes, they have the home advantage, but we got our passionate fan base behind, so they'll still hear us loud and proud.
Do you think we'll take the lead, Anthony, with that one goal that you've given us? Can you see us taking the lead at all? Or what are your thoughts on that one?
Interesting, isn't it? We could do on the counter, I suppose, but I reckon Chelsea will take the lead. We'll claw it back to 1-1.
Okay.
And then they'll probably, knowing us, will probably throw something away. But so I've gone for 2-1, which is a bit more positive than what my scoreline was going to be. But, well, it's still a loss, so it's not positive at all, is it? So apologise to the viewers. With the West Ham Arsenal game now being the other game on the line, we might as well talk about West Ham v Arsenal next. We all know that Arsenal will want to spoil Chelsea's party, and with West Ham to play, if United can get even a point, then can we expect Arsenal to ruin that party? I know we drew at West Ham, and Arsenal have had some funny results this season, but will it be comfortable for Arsenal? Do you fully expect that they're going to do their part?
I think when we played West Ham a few weeks ago, and we conceded that late goal, that was arguably the best time of West Ham's last few weeks, because I think they're just gradually slipping back a little bit, and we kind of dominated that game at LSV against West Ham. And I'm expecting Arsenal to dominate the game as well. I think Arsenal will do their side of the bargain. And obviously going off my other prediction as well, that would mean that Arsenal win the league on the last game of the season. So yeah, I'm going to go for a fairly high scoreline, a fairly comfortable scoreline. I think credit where credit's due with Arsenal. If you have a look at where they was last season, just about scraped into the top three, just like City potentially could do this season. They've come a long way this season. I think you have to take your hat off to them for that. They look very comfortable. They look very fluid. It's not really worked out for them in Europe. But even so, I think in the league, after 21 games, in a very, very strong league this season, I think they've done really well. So it wouldn't surprise me if Arsenal do end up scraping this league. But obviously, they'll have to rely on us to help them out there. But yeah, I've gone for an Arsenal win.
Yeah, no, I fully expect an Arsenal win as well. Just think West Ham, they're in that middle group, aren't they? Vibing. They can get fourth if Spurs lose, and West Ham do win.
Yeah.
We know West Ham can be tough at times, but I think this will be one of their games where they do leak a bit more than usual.
Mm-hmm.
Just feel like with what Arsenal have got to play for, they're going to be all out. It's going to be possession Arsenal chances, and I don't think West Ham will manage to cope with Arsenal this weekend. But like you said, we've seen stranger things happen. So
Yeah.
It's one of those things. I think if West Ham are going to have any chance of winning, they obviously have to keep it tight, keep 11 players on the pitch. We have seen them get points against when they have had a player sent off, most notably Spurs, but it would be a tough ask. I think Arsenal will win comfortably. It's just whether we can help Arsenal out. But saying that, prediction time. What you thinking?
I think Arsenal. I'm not going to say run riot because I don't think it'll be that much, but I think they'll want to put on a show for their last game of the season. I think they'll pretty much put the game to bed in the first half and then continue scoring. So I've gone for a 4-0 win, which is probably quite optimistic from an Arsenal fan's point of view. I don't think that they'll think it'll be that easy. Well, maybe they will. But I just think that Arsenal have got everything that it takes. They've got that experience as well. And I think West Ham, the fact that they haven't got too much to play for, will they be fighting as much as potentially Birmingham was fighting the other day against Chelsea? Was it Chelsea? Yeah. I think Arsenal 4-0. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I've gone for similar, but I've gone for 3-0. Like West Ham lost last week. I agree with you. I just think they'll have too much. All that adrenaline, the quality they've got.
Yeah.
I just think they've got something to play for. I know West Ham could end up finishing 5th, but it's a very different mindset. Battling to get a position that doesn't involve anything other than maybe a few hundred extra in the league. I don't know how the prize money works from positions. That would be interesting to find out. I'm not sure if you know.
Find out, yeah.
Yeah, but I just think 3-0, and if my prediction's right, unfortunately, it still won't be enough with Chelsea beating us. But who knows? Who knows? Football is a funny old game, as they say. So we'll move on. We'll keep on the topic of Europe, though. It's Reading v Man City at the Medeski Stadium. They're obviously in pole position for the final spot, but like I said, as proved by the men's team the other night, anything can happen. If Reading are going to cause an upset, who do City need to be wary of on the Reading side of things, the squad?
I think, well, first of all, I was thinking this could go absolutely anyway. I've written a prediction down here and I haven't said it yet. But I just don't think that they need to be too wary, if I'm honest. I just think they just need to be playing their own game, and this is kind of what worries me, because City, I think, if they win this game coming up, they've won 14 out of 15 games, which is absolutely amazing. And you can't knock them for getting ahead of us with that kind of record. So I think because we're at the end of that run, City has got all that belief now, knowing as long as they play their game, they don't need to worry about what Reading need to do, what Reading will be doing. Now, of course, they're going to be looking at all the analysis and all the videos and all that kind of stuff. So they're not going to be taking them lightly. But what I am saying is they're not going to be scared or frightened of anyone, because they know that they've got 90 minutes to score 2 goals, which I think will probably confirm it. 1 goal might never be enough, but they've got 90 minutes to score 2 goals. And if you have a look at what City's been scoring in the last few weeks, it's probably double that on average. So I don't think City will be too worried about Reading. I'm kind of hoping as a Man United fan that Reading can just keep them at bay, keep it 0-0, keep it 1-1 for as long as possible. Can United take the lead against Chelsea, and that obviously filters down to the Majestic Stadium, and all that puts City off a little bit. But I think I'm at the point now where Man City players are experienced, they're used to this. They're on form. Reading again haven't got anything to play for. Well, even if they haven't been the greatest team. They're at the bottom half of the table. So I'm more concerned about can City just break Reading down more than whether or not Reading can break City down.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said. Like you said, we know how City have been great, and if they had a fully fit squad, they would have qualified for Europe ages ago, and it could have been a freeway, or possibly City. We could be talking about City winning the league. Just that first 2 months of the season, where they had them few results, and from a United point of view, it's frustrating that we haven't taken advantage of it with all the draws and that. But you can only credit City. They've done what they've had to in the last 4 or 5 months of the season. That's where they're experienced. They've been there before. United haven't quite got there, have they? They've sort of, I would say they've choked more this season than last season. If you take in the manner of how we've dropped points this season, I definitely feel we frustration plays a part.
Just on that subject, I think injuries last season are the reasons why. Well, injuries and things going on behind the scenes, obviously, like with COVID and the facilities there. I think last season it was more down to that made the team unsettled. This season, I think it's more to do with we just haven't had that winning mentality, in that team. At least last season we had a few more winners potentially. Looking at it, I'm only thinking of Preston Heath, by the way, but at least they had that kind of winning mentality around them. They had more people on the pitch that could have possibly said, calm the nerves a little bit, keep hold of the ball a little bit more. So I think we probably lacked experience more than anything this season, whereas last season it was the injuries that probably really destroyed us.
Yeah, no, like you said, I would agree with you. Possibly, well, it didn't work out for Tobin Heath this season. As we saw with Arsenal, she didn't really play that much, injuries and all that. So the only benefit it might have had is having her around the scenes. But other than that, it wouldn't have really made any too much different on the pitch. I don't think result-wise, maybe a bit more mentality, like pep talk and that. We saw how Tobin could change a game last season, most notably against City. But like you said, I think it won't be a thrash in this game, but I do think City will have the quality to score at least a couple. What you thinking prediction wise?
I'd love it if it's a draw, because then at least if it's in our if it's in our own hands, then it's up to us just to make sure that we win Chelsea. So that's what I would love.
If we draw, we need to win about 9-0.
If they draw, of course,
yeah.
So that means not even fancying that. Yeah. Well, I've gone for a 2-1. I'll put it in the private chat there, Anthony. I've gone for a 2-1 City win, because I just think that they will have enough. But even if they are still drawing and it doesn't finish 1-1, that still might rattle City a little bit, knowing that they might need to, score again just in case Reading score. I'll just love it to stay at 1-1 or 0-0 as long as possible. But unfortunately, I just think City will have just too much for them on the day.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But you're being generous, I think. I've not got Reading to score.
Okay.
I've gone for a 2-0 City win. just think with the experience they got and the quality they've got all over the pitch, I think they'll approach this game in a professional manner. They'll turn up, do what they've got to do, and they'll hope to actually qualify for the Champions League proper this season, next season, unlike this season where they did fail. But they're more equipped than United at the moment. They've got the calibre of players that are a bit more experienced being there.
Mm-hmm.
United not so much with certain players. But now for me, that's why I've gone for 2-0. I just think Reading won't have enough. The only threat, Reading's main threat is that Deanna Rose for me. But other than that, they didn't really cause United any problems when United played there. So
yeah,
it's hard to see anything other than a City win, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay, so now moving on. Relegation's obviously done, but there is a Midlands derby, or possibly at least the last time in 2 seasons, unless the Conti Cup brings Villa and Birmingham together, or the FA.
You know what the Conti Cup's like. Yeah, you know what the Conti Cup's like with location. Yeah.
But they'll be disappointed, Villa, that there isn't going to be one. I think the rivalry. Carla Ward, I think, will be happy with where they are this season. Their aim would have been, I think, to just be stable, and as we touched, their away form is what's probably not made it so nerve-wracking for Villa, as well as Birmingham not really kicking on after beating Arsenal. So with this game, obviously Birmingham relegated as one of the founding members of the WSL as well. And it's been on the cards for a little while, hasn't it? Compared to 2017, 2018, when they had the calibre of the likes of Ellen White and Lucy Stansforth, them quality players. Over the last couple of seasons, it's just not gone so well. I think the running of the club must be something to do with that. Obviously, you had the big hoo-ha about how they were training in like a cabin, or getting dressed in like a cabin last season. So it had been on the cards, hadn't it? But are Birmingham one of these teams who you think can potentially come straight back up like Liverpool did? Or with the Championship being so tough now, do you think Birmingham will struggle to come straight back up?
Yeah, I think as things stand, that they're showing no signs of coming straight back up. I think they need to do something different. But the advantage that they've got is they can do that if they want to. It's not like they're a lower team. They're still on the way up. Birmingham do know what they need to do to achieve. It's just whether or not they get the backing to do that. It took Liverpool a couple of seasons to get that backing. And things seem to have settled down there. But I also agree with you now. When we talk, every season we talk about how the Championship is getting stronger. When we was there 4 years ago, it was nothing like what it is now. Bristol are a very good team, and they're going to struggle to come back up again. And there's nothing wrong with Bristol. It's just the fact that there's so many good teams down there now, and you'll see one more good team come up from Tier 3, whether that be Wolves or is it Southampton or Ipswich? I can't remember now, but one of those.
It's one of those.
Yeah, so one of those is going to come up, and that's not going to make the Championship any weaker at all. If that's going to be one of your weakest teams next season, one of those 3 teams, it's going to be a very tough league. So unfortunately for Birmingham, I think it's a massive relegation this year, because there's just no sign of you just don't know what to you don't know what to expect. There's no one that jumps out to me thinking, right, you're clear favourites this season because there's just so many teams. As for this particular game, Birmingham can look at it one of two ways. They could be all down and out, thinking, okay, well, we're relegated now, let's put our mind onto next season. Or they can think to themselves, right, we're against Aston Villa, local rivals. We don't want to go out on a whimper. They want to make sure that they get as close as possible, get a win against Villa, which is doable. And you might see a real good game. I'm still undecided which way Birmingham's gonna go, but I know that Villa's gonna go for it and be professional as they were against us, as we've seen against Arsenal and some of the other teams. Hard to break down at the start. Can Birmingham go 90 minutes without breaking them down? Yeah, they probably could. I suppose for me the question is, can Villa break Birmingham down? And I think that'll probably reflect on my score prediction in a bit.
Yeah, no, like you said, Villa, they can go up a position. But like you said, they're not really paying for anything. Birmingham, obviously, do they see this as a chance to look to next season, maybe give a few of their youngsters or any up-and-coming academy players a chance?
Mm-hmm.
Just give them that WSL experience before next season. So you could approach it. Obviously, with it being a Midlands derby, I know it doesn't have the same passion as it would in the men's game. But both teams, they'll both want the win. It will ruin their weekend. Whichever team doesn't win, they're still going to be that we really want to beat our closest rivals. So there'll still be no love lost. I'm not quite sure there'll be the banter that you get in the men's game, like you going down, blah blah, because I don't think that happens too much with certain teams of support. But I could be wrong. But I do think there'll be a winner in this game. I just don't think it would be as interesting on that as if it was like earlier in the season, mm-hmm. where there was still stuff to play for. If the Birmingham were only a point or two behind Leicester, it would have a different complex on the game. But obviously with Birmingham not being able to get anything against City or Chelsea, confirming their relegation, which has been on the cards for a while, it's difficult, like how they approach it. Obviously, with the Championship, there is so many quality teams. You always have Durham challenging up there. Teams like Lewis and Charlton haven't done bad this season. Could even mention Coventry United next season now.
Mm-hmm.
But,
yeah,
I didn't realise. This is how off I've been with the Championship other than the top. I did not realise that Coventry were in that position that they could survive. It was only when I saw on Twitter and Molly Green scored that like
wonderful
bend it like Beckham sort of scenario free kick that I was like, blimey, because they obviously were 10 points off safety and then they got the points deduction. And that was all after they were going to fold at first. But they got bought out and they've knuckled down and won their last five games or something. So full credit to them, but that's drifting off to the Championship briefly. But full credit to them. But with Villa Birmingham, I just think there'll be nothing major. There might be a few tackles flying, but for me, it'll be a tight win for Villa. I think I'll say my prediction first. I'm gonna go for a 2-1 Villa.
Okay. I'm gonna go slightly different then. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I think if either team had something to go for, you might just see them push and get that win. I'm going to kind of say 1-1 draw on this one. I think neither team will have enough to kind of dominate and control the game, and I think it'll be entertaining. I do. Like I said, I don't think either team will want to lose, but I think when it does get to 1-1, will Villa have enough just to get that win? Will they have that hunger to get that win? Because you can guarantee that Birmingham won't want to lose against Villa last game of the season. So, yeah, I was going to go for a 1-1 on this one.
That's playing it safe. That's fair enough. To be fair, I don't think I've gone for any draws this week. Yeah, I haven't, but we'll discuss them when we pick them up. So we'll go on to Spurs-Leicester now. Obviously, Leicester safe after Birmingham not being able to pick up points. Last time out, Spurs managed to get a point against Reading. Spurs, they'll be hoping to get the win to confirm 5th. So be it 10 points, 10, 12 points behind us, probably, or maybe City. But if you said to Spurs at the beginning of the season, said to Rihanna Skinner, you finish 5th, with the squad they've got, would they have taken that, do you think?
I think they would have publicly said it, but yeah, I think so. You have to kind of look at City, Chelsea, and Arsenal first, and think to yourself, right, there's no way that Tottenham have got no right to be above those three. And you look at like United in the last couple of seasons being 4th, 2 seasons on the trot. Maybe at the start of the season, there would have been a few teams, Everton included, that would have looked at United thinking, right, United's the one to catch because they're unsettled. So maybe going into the start of the season, Tottenham thought, if we get off to a good start, things could potentially happen and we could maybe go toe-to-toe with United. But it's not been that way. And for those people who've said Tottenham's had a good season, when you look at this points tally-wise and goal average, I'm sure the goal average is 0. I think it's 23 scored, 23 against. Have they actually
they've got no goal difference.
Exactly. So have they actually had a great season, really? I think, are they just best of the rest there?
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Yeah, I think if they had stayed up there, going into Christmas where a few of the United fans were saying, no, Tottenham's going to stay in it, Tottenham's going to stay in it. And I get it, I understand, because at that point in time, they did look very strong, but obviously it's over the course of the season, and we know more than anyone for the last 2 seasons, we've started off really well and then just slipped at the very end there. So, Tottenham have had a decent season. Bear in mind that they've only, got promoted at the same time as us as well. So, they have done well to be quite comfortably best of the rest, in my opinion. But I wouldn't really get too carried away with what they've achieved. Not massively.
No, that's fair points you make there. Because they're not massively the best of the rest. They still can finish below West Ham. Obviously, West Ham being another rival of Spurs, they won't want that to happen. And I feel that Spurs are the team in pole position to finish 5th.
Yeah.
With it being Leicester, but I think it will be a tight, close game. The Spurs-Leicester game. And just think it's hard, isn't it, when you haven't got anything to play for now? It's like, do you give some players the chance that haven't necessarily played much this season? I don't think Spurs will, because Spurs will want that 5th position, but Leicester, they might play a couple that have been in and around the squad, but haven't played so many minutes. So it's always difficult to predict the last games when you do have them match situations. Mm-hmm. I don't think it'll be a low scoring game. I'm not sure Leicester will score, but they'll be looking to next season, won't they? Leicester.
Yeah.
they'll be thinking, where did we go wrong this season? I know they got all them players in, and maybe the players are good enough. They just needed a bit more time to gel because they did get quite a lot of players in. Obviously, they'll want a bit more experience because they won't want to be in the same situation again next year. Because when you look at the teams, Villa are really the only team you can see being down there with them, really. Obviously, I know there has to be teams down there, but you look at Liverpool, I think Liverpool are starting to get somewhere now, and I don't think they'll be even. I think they'll be floating around mid-table next season, Liverpool, but that will be for a prediction show come the new season. But scoreline prediction time. What would you go for?
I think this might be one that we get the same, because I agree with what you've said there. I can't see Leicester scoring. I can't see Tottenham scoring too many. Leicester's done their job now. They've stayed up. Were they more ambitious at the start of the season? Potentially. But obviously Christmas time, where they had no points on the board, they would have loved to have obviously gone into this final game knowing that, it's them safe. And don't forget, when you get promoted, unless if you're a massive club like United, then, sometimes just once you're promoted, you just got to make sure that you're stabilised in the league, especially with how strong and competitive this league is. So, Leicester's job's done. They should be happy that they've obviously stayed up. I do agree with you. I think next season it will be a lot tougher. They won't have a Birmingham on that downhill spiral. So I am going to go for a Spurs win, and I'm going to go for a 2-0.
Oh, well, we haven't matched at all.
Okay.
I just went for a tight 1-0 win.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I said, I think it'll be a tight affair, but I feel Spurs will have the quality to break them down once, cement fifth, obviously, and then they'll look to next season, trying to close the gap on fourth, and third, and that. But that's Spurs Leicester now, so we'll move on to the last game, which is Brighton-Everton. Now, Brighton, we all know about Brighton. I think it's a tough one to call, this one. With Brighton inconsistent, they've won 8 times, but they've lost 12 times with 1 draw. So I know we've mentioned it before. You don't know what Brighton team will turn up. Some days they can be really good. Other days you think, blimey, I can't believe Brighton lost that. Like I've said, it's hard to predict games where there isn't much riding on it. Obviously, Brighton will want to finish where they are currently. Everton can only go up 1 position, but they can't move further down. So it's interesting as well. Does team selection play a part as well? Like, if they were playing for something, maybe would they go for their strongest team? Do they give some of the subs that don't normally play, like I've mentioned before, a run out? With Everton, it's not quite happened this season, has it? Third manager. Obviously, you had Willie Kirk on talking about the ambition at the start of the season, that pressure of trying for Champions League, and it didn't work out that way. It went the opposite way. At one point this season, we were talking, could Everton potentially get relegated? It's only the fact that Leicester and Birmingham have been down there and they've been worse than Everton, that they aren't down there fighting for their WSL lives like their team, their men's side. So it's not been a great year for Everton as a whole, club wise. Brighton next season, obviously they'll be looking to be more consistent. They'll want to cut them losers out that they should expect to win. But I don't think Brighton have had many. They've not beaten anyone in the top three, if I'm correct, which occasionally they do. Normally have won a season, which they haven't had this season, if I'm pretty not mistaken. But I think Brighton will be sort of content where they finished there. They just want to get to the end of the season now and build on next season. Everton will not want to be in this situation next season. They'll want to be where they think they should be aiming for. Talk of who gets the Everton job, because obviously they've got an interim manager at the moment. But I think this is going to be another tight, cagey affair. What are you thinking, John, prediction-wise?
First of all, I think just like Brighton's season, very similar to Reading and West Ham. They'll both look at it, all three teams will look at it thinking at the end of the season, we're pretty much, where we probably thought we would be. I think they'll all think to themselves, if we could have put a run together at some point and knock out some of them losses against each other, then maybe, things would have been different and they would have been where Tottenham are. But those three teams, to me, we've said all along, you just don't know what you're going to get, because you see literally a win 1 week, a loss the next, a win 1 week, loss the next. And I think, I'm putting three teams in that bracket there. I think, Tottenham are above those in my eyes, but there's no way that those middle three are anywhere near the bottom two. Obviously, Everton and Villa could creep, a little bit higher, especially next season. But generally, I think, Brighton will just be looking at it, thinking, okay, well, maybe if we could have put another couple of runs together, a couple of wins together, we could be a little bit higher, but they're never going to get above Tottenham. So, 6 to 8 is pretty much a little mini league in itself there. As for the game itself, we will talk a bit about Everton next week, won't we? We'll speak about Everton a little bit in our end of season show, about maybe what went wrong there, or what our thoughts are on Everton. But I do fancy a Brighton win on this one. Now I'm fully aware that if Everton do win and Villa lose, then Everton can go above Villa, and then all of a sudden the league table is as bad for Everton, and Aston Villa will think to themselves, it looks like we've had a bad season after all here. Finishing 10th, ahead of like two poor teams. But I can't see Everton winning. I can't even see them drawing. So I'm going to go for a Brighton win.
Yeah, I've gone for a Brighton win as well. We were talking about the relegation battle in that as well. If obviously Birmingham lose, they obviously finish bottom on single digits, 4 points worse off than Bristol City, who went down last season.
Yeah.
Birmingham last season only had 6 points more. So,
yeah.
But with Brighton Everton, I'll go for a Brighton win. And what are you going for?
Yeah, I'm going to go for 1-0. Everton haven't scored loads. Brighton haven't scored loads this season. I can see this just being, like I say, 1-0 either way, but I'm going to go for 1-0 Brighton. Yeah,
I've gone for similar, but I've gone for 2-1. Like you said, Brighton don't score loads, other than when they played that Reading that one time and could have scored 7 or 8 and still managed to score 4 or 5. But yeah, they're just a compact team normally, and against the likes of Everton and that, I just feel they'll have a little bit too much, I think. But it is so hard to predict this time when there's not really anything to play for. Brighton can finish 6th, but can finish as low as 8th. So it's still there to play for mid-table wise 6th, but that's this weekend's fixtures discussed. Before we do go, what have we got on this week, John?
Yeah, first of all, if you never saw us on last night, we had Emma Sean, Man City supporter on, so she was with us with Jamie Spencer, Man United correspondent. So that was a real good show. So if you haven't seen that one, go back to last night's show. Got the Friday Night Fan Forum tonight, and then we got Saturday night with Matt and Benny, which will be our last preview show of the season, and of course match day content on Sunday. So yeah, we will be doing this one last show next week, won't we, Anthony? Just kind of wrapping up the season, what predictions kind of went well, what kind of surprises that we had, all that kind of stuff. So we've got that to look forward to next week as well.
Yeah. And anyway, thanks for watching, guys and girls. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Until then, take care.
See you guys.